Okay everybody, I'm back out here in my shop this morning. This weekend's project is going to be some stacking sawhorses. I saw this on a woodsmith show. I always have my DVR set up to record those, and I saw them building these on that show, and I thought, man, what a cool idea. I really like the way they stack. They're easy to make, and the coolest thing is you can get all four of these out of a single sheet of plywood. The way the layout works out, you can get them all out of one sheet of plywood, which makes it a really cheap project. I'll make sure I have these plans down in the description below. I have a link to these so you can check these out. I think these would be handy in anybody's shop. So without any further ado, let's get started making these. Okay, the first step I'm going to do in making these stackable sawhorses is I needed to create a template for the end piece. And since I've got the layout that came with the plans from Woodsmith, and it shows how I'm laying them out, and I even redrew them myself to make sure everything would fit and how far big a gap I could put in between them. But I don't know if you can see this or not, but these end pieces, you see how they're flip-flopped so that you can get 8 of them across an 8-foot piece. And what I did is I went ahead and took this outside while my CNC router was making this template, and cut these down to cut this down to 17 1/4, because these are 17 inches, and that way I can lay these out, and then I can also use my circular saw to cut each piece apart, because I'm going to leave like a 3/8 gap between them, and then I can take them to my bandsaw, get much closer to the line, and then use my template to use a flush trim bit in my router table and get all of these identical, which is, you know, pretty critical to get these to stack up right. So now my next step is to lay these out. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see my pencil lines or not on here, but as you can see by flip-flopping this template, and I left about 3/8 of a gap here so I can take my circular saw and run right down the middle and not have to worry about cutting into one of the parts. You know, if you're careful, you can get all 8 pieces in this one 8-foot long piece. So that's one of the cool things about these stackable sawhorses, that you can get all 4 of them from a single sheet of plywood. Pieces separated now where I can easily manage them on the bandsaw. So I'm going to go ahead and try to cut just outside the lines here, and then I can use my template to with the flush trim bit on the router table and get all these things identical. My end pieces rough cut on the bandsaw, just, you know, a little bit outside the line. Now I'm going to use this template, and I'm going to use a couple of the holes that I put in there just to put some screws in there to hold it, and then I'm going to use a flush trim bit over here on the router table, and we'll get all these cut with exactly the same. Got all my end pieces cut. The next step is to put this little groove in here that will accept the bottom shelf, and then I also need to put a little dado here to accept the top piece. So this is the template that I use my CNC router to cut. So it's very helpful because now I can use this to help set up my table saw. And because I'm using the temp saw, I'm obviously going to have to be very careful that I don't have a dado blade in it. So I'm going to have to make several passes. So I'm going to set it up with the first pass, run all 8 through, then move it over a little bit, run all 8 through again, and so on and so forth. So let me get started doing that. Okay, I finished cutting this first dado slot in all my end pieces, and again I just have a single blade in there. I don't have a dado set. My table saw arbor really isn't big enough for a dado blade, so I just have to put it in there and sneak up on it. But I think you can see this here. I get a nice snug fit as long as I sneak up on it. But one thing I did want to point out while I was thinking about it, if you get ready to do this, make sure that your fence is either long enough or you'll have to put another straight edge, another board or something to it. And I'll show you why. Because as you go up here and you're running this through, you notice how at the end I don't want to get past and have it go off. So, you know, if it's going off, if my fence was only this long, it wouldn't make it because I would run off the edge and that could be trouble. So fortunately my fence is a 40-inch piece of tubing, so you can see that when I'm clear of the saw blade here, I'm still not off the edge of the fence. So just one thing I wanted to point out while I was thinking about it, because that is something you might start doing these and forget about that. So always check to make sure your fence is long enough. Okay, I finished cutting all the dados on the end pieces. These here, again, like I mentioned a while ago, when you're doing these, you got to be very careful because doing them this way is really pretty unstable. You know, you have to kind of hold it against the fence. And when I got down to the very end here, since I just have a regular blade, I had to kind of bury it a little bit into a piece of MDF to be able to get the last little bit there. But they came out pretty good, and I think they're going to work fine. So now it's on to getting ready to cut the bottom shelf and the tops. And once I get that done, I'll just basically fit up the supports, and we're just about done. Okay, I'm working on the bottom shelf now, and if you notice, these Sawhorse ends have like a 15-degree taper. So I'm putting a 15-degree bevel or 15-degree taper on here, and what I did is I cut my bottom shelves to about 12 inches, which is a little bit long, and then what I did is I took all 4 pieces and run them through and beveled one side, checked the angle to make sure that it matched up good, and it did. And then what I did is slowly cut the other side and just slowly start tapping the fence in until I got where it's nice and flush on both sides here. So now when I put it in there, by the time I sand that, you can see I've got a good flush fit there. So I'm just kind of, taking my time, sneaking up on it. Now that I've got the saw set the correct width, now I can go ahead and cut the other 3 pieces for the other 3 Sawhorses. Okay, I finished cutting the 4 boards that are going to be the top. Basically, I used the same technique as I did for the bottom shelf. I cut these to the right length. I cut them about 7 inches, which is, was about a 1/4 inch big or so. Cut a bevel on one side on all 4 boards, and then came back and just kind of sneak up on it, moving it over until I get it just right. Now when I got a nice flush fit, then I could go ahead and cut the other 3 pieces. So it's just really important that you just kind of sneak up on it and don't go too far so you can get it nice and flush. Alright, the next step is I've got to put a dado in the center of the bottom of the top, which has a board glued in for a support, and also I got to put 2 dados on the bottom shelf, or no, wait, I think it's backwards. I think I've got 2 dados on the top shelf and 1 dado in the bottom shelf. Yeah, that's the way it goes, I think. But anyway, so I'm going to set it up again, and I'll have to sneak up on it like I did before, so it'll take a while. But I'll start cutting those dados with my table saw. Okay, I went ahead and clamped up one of my little Sawhorses here. This is just a dry fit, and the reason I'm doing this is I haven't put the supports in here. I've got two supports that go in the dados on this top, and then another support that goes in the dado under here, right in the middle of the bottom shelf. But what I wanted to do is measure this after I get it fit together to make sure I know exactly what that distance is. If you accidentally cut these dados in your end pieces a little longer or a little shorter, and you go ahead and cut the supports, then they may or may not fit. So I got them cut to width, but I left them extra long, so now I'm going to come back and cut those to the correct length and do some glue up and start putting these things together. Okay, I got the 4 stackable Sawhorses done, and this was a project from Woodsmith magazine. I actually saw this on their show. I have a DVR set up to get all their shows, and I saw this, and then I went to their website and got the plans, and I'll provide a link to these, because this pretty much tells you everything you need to know. I did create drawings for mine because I used my CNC router to make the template back here, so if anybody wants that as well, just let me know and I can get you that. But these turned out really nice. They stack nice. They're really solid. You know, if you're just using one, I'll pull one off here. If you're just using one and you got a big project, you can spread all 4 of them out, and this gets you 17 inches up off the floor. And if you need something a little higher, you can just simply stack them back up, and that will get you 30 inches off. So great little project, easy to do. Takes 1 sheet of plywood. I used 1 sheet of birch plywood. Costs a little over 50 bucks. So it's a very cheap project. You don't necessarily have to use birch or oak plywood. You could use just the cheap exterior grade, and that would work just as well. And then you'd only have about 20 or 25 bucks in it. So great little project. Check out the plans at the link below, and also thanks for all my new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, please do, and be on the lookout for upcoming videos. And I guess that's going to be it for this one. We'll catch you next time.